In an oppressive such as this one, the working class women are even more vulnerable. They suffer double exploitation because they're oppressed as women and as workers. They often have little job security, they face discrimination, and their employers are often unwilling to provide them the rights guaranteed by law to meet the demands of women. So these women in Iran are left with the choice between no income and no work, or having their rights taken away, or rather not given to them. Therefore, they're one of the strongest groups to rebel against the system because they're oppressed and they have no real interest within the current system. But they've been caught in this struggle where they need to fight for their basic necessities, where a lot of times they're put down and they're not given that opportunity to speak up. The current situation in Iran, the current political unrest, is a very critical one. This is the time that the Iranian people can come together and put into power a fair and just government that is there to provide for its people and is not there to provide profits for a small group of elite or profits for foreign powers. I was very happy to hear about the reports of recent worker strikes, police not shooting at demonstrators during the protests, police stations being taken over by the people of Iran, as well as plots for the takeover of the partisan, conservative, highly censored, government-controlled media. This is the beginning of the end for the Islamic regime, and the Iranian people have now realized that the power is in their hands, and it is not up to foreign intervention or reformers such as Mousavi to bring about the change they need. The real agents of change in Iran are the masses of the country. This is a new beginning that will give the people another shot at instilling equality and justice in Iran. And next time I go to my country, I hope to be able to speak freely, to see a more egalitarian society, and to not be discriminated against because of my gender. Gender, race, sex, and sexual orientation have always been used as a means for exploitation. Furthermore, ethnicity has also been used as a weapon for oppression and for denying rights to workers, especially migrant workers. Now, the idea of an individual being illegal is preposterous. We were all born equal. We were born in different locations, but we were all born on the same planet. I believe that we all have the right to be safe from harm, and if that means seeking refuge within the boundaries of a different man-made border, then let it be. No one should be able to deny anyone else the right to citizenship, especially if their life is in danger. Because that piece of paper allowing refuge, or lack of it, is just a means of exploitation. Not having that status means that your employer can exploit you. You have to work a lot more than what is legally allowed. You're underpaid. They don't give you your rights. And these workers have no means of complaining to the authorities because technically they're illegal, invisible, and they're not even supposed to be there. So, to wrap up, I am not the least disappointed to be born as a female. But what I am disappointed about is the fact that women are discriminated against all over the world, including in Iran and Afghanistan, because of their gender. We are just as capable of working, thinking, and making decisions by ourselves. I believe that every man and woman has the right to be treated equally and with respect and dignity. I don't believe in privileging anyone based on their rank, gender, race, ethnicity, or any other basis. Because these are irrelevant factors only used to segregate and exploit people. Thank you.
So I'm going to be talking a little bit about some of the challenges facing women who come to Canada on the Seasonal Agricultural Workers Program. And so I think you've mentioned some of the challenges that migrant women face in employment, and so I think I'm going to draw some of those challenges out. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Seasonal Agricultural Workers Program. It's, I think it started in the 1960s, so it's been around for a while. It's not brand new. There are a number of different, as I'm sure you know, temporary foreign work programs, and I think that some of the structural barriers and challenges I'm going to be talking about, you'll see overlap very much with these other programs. So the SOP is what I'll call it, instead of saying Seasonal Agricultural Workers Program every few seconds, brings about 20,000 workers, farm workers, to Canada every year. Most of these workers come to Ontario. So in Ontario, there are about 18,000 to 19,000 migrant farm workers that come every year. So in Ontario, of these 18,000, about 55% of the workers are Spanish-speaking, and 3% are women. So that's a small percentage. Women were only allowed into the program in the 1980s. And there are still lots of beliefs about what kinds of farm work women are better suited for, and things that they really, shouldn't be doing. So things like working with flowers, which are beautiful and delicate, just like women. These seem to be very jobs that women are kind of put into more so than others. So with 3% of the people coming to Ontario are women, so that's around 400 to 600 women in Ontario every year. So that's not actually a small number of women. Contracts range from 3 to 8 months, and of course, men and women have to go back to their home country as soon as their contract ends, and this is monitored very closely, and there are lots of different criteria that are put into place in the program to ensure that people won't try to stay in Ontario or in Canada. So migrant farm workers are tied to a single employer. So they're certainly not allowed to change jobs. They have to stay in the agricultural sector. But not only that, they're not allowed to change employers. Although a very common practice is for employers to lend out their workers to their friends on the weekend. And lots of women have talked to me and said, "Oh, Kate, I can't see you this weekend because my boss is lending me to his friend." And I think that language is very concerning but very revealing. And I think one of the most important pieces to highlight is that there's no appeal process if a worker is dismissed from their job, which invariably results in repatriation. There's no way of appealing that kind of decision. So effectively what that means is that people can be dismissed for virtually any reason, and nobody is kind of looking, and you can't make a complaint. I just want to highlight a few things about the recruitment process. So there are lots of things that in Canada people take for granted in terms of ethics concerning hiring practices and things that we think clearly you're not allowed to discriminate based on gender and religion and things like this. But in fact, this program allows the hiring processes to be set up by the governments of the sending countries. And so there are lots of, so the Canadian government is basically not held accountable for the kinds of rules that are put into place. So things like, in Mexico, the women need to be, in order to qualify, need to be single mothers, which seems like a crazy criteria, but it's both racist and sexist in that it's, all workers are required to have dependents, so children, so that it's kind of a guarantee that someone will go home at the end of the contract. But it's also, the program is designed to be for the main breadwinner in the family. And so it's assumed that if a woman is married or has a male partner, of course it has to be a male partner, that the male would be the breadwinner. So in order to qualify, women have to be single with children. They also cannot be pregnant. All migrant farm workers have to go through an extensive medical checkup every year before they come to Canada, and women need to take a pregnancy test to ensure that they are not pregnant when they come. Women have also talked to me about how you need to be a peasant to qualify for the program, and that some women have had the situation where they go for the interview and they don't believe that this woman is really a peasant. And so they want to, feel your hands to see whether your hands are too soft, and you need to look, like a peasant. So